with all the news from WTCN TV's expanded news gathering facility.
WTCN TV, Channel 11.
This is KARE 11 News at 10.
His campaign commercials reflect the innocence and idealism of the early 60s.
A man who's old enough to know and young enough to do.
A time when anything seemed possible.
Mr. Chairman, do I hear the Mr. Chairman, delegate from Minnesota? Mr. Chairman, this is Senator Humphrey.
The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it.
As Mrs. Kennedy and the crowd yells, "And the President of the United States." Shaking hands now with the Dallas people, Governor and Mrs. Connally. The presidential car moving out.
6 seconds of unimaginable violence. And then time stands still.
We have this from Washington. Government sources now confirm that President Kennedy is dead.
But could this terrible tragedy have been avoided? Documents obtained by KARE 11 News reveal for the first time how a Minnesota man with the initials MML nearly changed the course of history. Remember those initials, MML. Now, here's what happened. 2 years before the assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald was in the Soviet Union, desperately trying to get back into the United States. At that point, someone at the State Department wrote this letter. The letter asks that certain sanctions be waived so that Oswald, with his new Russian wife Marina, could return home. Previous requests had been denied by the U.S. Immigration Service, denied by an officer with the initials MML. So who was this MML blocking Oswald's return? It was this man, Morton Melvin Levine.
I wanted him kept out of the United States, but there was enough there for me to think this man could be very dangerous.
Levine is 80 years old and retired now, living in Minnetonka. But as an immigration officer in Washington handling the would-be assassin's file, it was clear to Levine Oswald meant trouble.
What I did is I reviewed it and I denied the request for a waiver of sanctions.
And effectively, that should have kept Lee Harvey Oswald out of the United States.
That's correct.
In fact, a total of 4 separate times, Morton Levine was asked to let Lee Harvey Oswald and his wife into this country. 4 times, Levine refused. 2 years passed and he thought the matter was over, until here in Dallas, the president was shot.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin from Dallas, Texas.
On the radio, on his way home from work, Levine learned police had arrested Oswald for assassinating the president.
And it was the next day that I contacted my supervisor to find out whether anyone had reversed my decision. And the answer was no, we had never reversed it.
Unfortunately, that wasn't true. Under pressure from the State Department, and unbeknownst to Levine, his boss, Robert Robinson, had indeed reversed Mort's decision. He waived the sanctions that kept Oswald out of the United States. We wanted to ask Robinson why, but he's 87 years old now, and his family says he's not up to answering our questions. But perhaps just as important, who was it at the State Department pressuring Robinson to waive sanctions in the first place? Well, according to this letter, it was a man named Michael Saplinski. Here, Saplinski's pictured with then-President Lyndon Johnson. We asked him why he helped Oswald into the country. Saplinski wrote back that it was a routine part of his job to assist American families with immigration issues. But Saplinski insists he does not have any recollection of intervening on behalf of Lee Harvey Oswald or his wife Marina. That's even though here's Saplinski's signature at the bottom of a letter asking for Oswald to be allowed back into the United States.
No, I don't think anybody would want to admit that they were in part responsible for getting Lee Harvey Oswald with his wife to the United States.
United States District Court for the District.
Minnesota's newly appointed federal judge John Thunheim knows as much about the Kennedy assassination as anyone.
You may be seated.
But even Judge Thunheim didn't know Mort Levine's story about Lee Harvey Oswald until we told him.
I don't know that it was looked at that closely. I think it's always been a fact of some curiosity about how he got back here quite easily, along with his Soviet wife. Call to order this public hearing of the Assassination Records Review Board.
Now, Thunheim says, he and other members of a special review board will take a careful look at the whole waiver of sanctions episode.
Well, certainly the board's role in something like this is to do our best to find any additional records, any additional information that could shed light on this issue.
3 shots were fired.
Meanwhile, although the judge remains open-minded, he says the theory that Oswald acted alone has some problems.
There are a lot of holes in that theory. In the tests that were done afterwards, FBI marksmen could not duplicate the shooting.
New information about the assassination, recently released to the public for the first time by Thunheim's review board, includes this 16mm film. Shot by a Dallas TV crew, the footage shows the immediate surge towards the railroad yard behind the grassy knoll, where some 50 witnesses report hearing gunfire.
Here comes Oswald down the hall again.
Did you fire that rifle? That's dispatches you people have been given, but I emphatically deny these charges.
We'll certainly do our best to find everything that we can. Whether it demonstrates a conspiracy or not, if we find it, it will be released.
Judge John Thunheim, one Minnesotan searching for the truth about a tragic day in American history, and Morton Levine, another Minnesotan who almost changed everything all by himself.
I think the pages in history would be totally different than they are today.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear